Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. In today's video, I'll be showcasing our Banner and Bough stamp and stencil collection, along with the matching die. So let's go ahead and get started. The Banner and Bough stamp and stencil combo consists of a 4-step stencil set, a masking stencil, and then a stamp set for even more added detailing. There's also a step-by-step instruction sheet included with the set. You'll find that tucked inside your package of stamps and stencils. So the stamps and stencils are sold together. There's also a matching die, which is sold separately. So let's go ahead and see this set in action. We're going to start off with a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel of white cardstock, and we're going to be using the 4-step stencils to create our design and finish it off with the stamps. So the stencils are numbered 1 through 4. You'll see the numbers in the upper right hand corner. You really can do them in any order, but it does help to make sure that your numbers are all in the upper right hand corner and your stencils are all facing the right direction. So we're going to start with stencil 1, and I'm using some Stormy Sky Distress Oxide ink. We're going to lay that stencil right over the top of our 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel, and just go ahead and use a blending brush to stencil that banner. So we're going to go ahead and move to step 2, which is the flowers, and we're once again just going to lay that over top of our A2 panel and just check to make sure that our alignment is matching up with the banner that we just stenciled. And I'm going to go ahead and take some Candied Apple Distress ink and stencil the flowers. So now we're going to move on to stencil number 3, which is all the foliage. And again, we're just going to lay that over top of our A2 panel, lining it up around the edges, and then also just checking our placement to make sure that everything is lining up with our previous stenciling. So for this step, I'm going to be using a few different colors, different shades of green, just to get a nice variety of color in that foliage. If you want more precise ink placement and color placement, you can always use the little finger sponge daubers, and that will give you a little more control over where your color goes. I'll probably be using a combination of my brushes here and also the daubers. So we can go ahead and pull that away and see that our design is starting to build. We have one more stencil, and that's number 4, and this is some banner detail and some of the little berries. For this step, I'm going to be using chipped sapphire. So we're finished with all 4 steps of the stenciling, and now the bouquet gets finished off by stamping some details. Before we do that, I'm going to add some color to the background using the mask stencil that's also included in the set. This is totally optional if you want to leave your background white or plain just as is. Obviously you can skip this step, but if you're going to do this step, I would recommend doing it now before you do the stamping of the details. It just will help you position that pine bough detail a little better and make sure you get it in the right spot if you do this part first. I'm just adding some scattered straw color just around that bouquet. I have a little stencil adhesive on the back side of that to help hold that in place, and I can pull it away and you can see now my open areas which are remaining that I'm going to fill in with the stamp set. So to finish this off, I'm going to put our stenciled panel into my MISTI, and now I'm going to take this pine detail stamp, which is what finishes off that bouquet, and I'm going to align that right in here in my MISTI. And if you're consistently using 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch A2 panels, I have found that once you get it lined up, you can leave it and do multiples one after another, and it should be lined up just where you need it. So it works great for creating multiples. So I'm going to put my head in here and make sure that I have this all lined up. So I'm going to be using a couple different shades of ink to stamp these pine details. I'm using Evergreen Bough, and then I will also add in some forest moss just for some nice deep greens. Using the Misty allows me to do that a little more easily, so I can make multiple impressions. And then finally, we also need to add the flower details using the matching stamps. And this is A1 and A2 on your sheet of stamps. So one thing that I like to look for when lining these up is this one right here has kind of a little V cut out in the flower, and that wraps right around that banner. Just helps you to get everything in the right spot. We can actually put both of these in the Misty at the same time and go ahead and stamp those together at the same time. I'll just use Candied Apple again. This is the same color that I used to stencil those flowers, but I was kind of stenciling that fairly lightly, so this color should work for the stamping as well. And then we're going to finish that off with one of the sentiments from the stamp set. There are 3 different sentiments which fit just right on that banner, and I think we'll use this Merry Christmas to You and Yours. Go ahead and use some chipped sapphire ink. We'll just stamp that right on that banner. And there we have a pretty stamped and stenciled bouquet, which was really fun and easy to do. This is a great set for making multiples, really quick and easy. Change up the colors. There's also a matching die set, which allows you to get a little more creative with layering some elements. This is an example where I kept it really simple, just like what we did here. This is just stamped and stenciled. This one is stepped up a little bit. I incorporated the die cut banner, so I layered that over the top and popped it up for some layered, a little more dimension, and I also used that pine detail stamp to stamp some pine branches around the edges. This is another example where I used the individual elements from the stamp set along with the matching dies and kind of created my own design. I did start with the stencils just as a base and then went ahead and added lots of layers and dimension using the individual flowers and leaves from the set, and I also incorporated some of our Botanicuts Pine Bough die cuts for lots of dimension and a Written in Ribbons holiday sentiment. So you can see this set has lots of potential, lots of possibilities for playing around, all the way from keeping it very simple to stepping it up and experimenting with more detailed and layered designs. Well, thanks for joining me, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to one of our new sets from our Merry Makings collection. This set is called Banner Bough. The stamps and stencils are sold together. The coordinating die set is available for purchase separately, and all of these products will be available for purchase beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on October 9 from thegreetery.com.